How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and today we're going to be celebrating my 3 years on this platform. Before I get started here, I just want to let you know that there is a link to a survey in both the description below this video as well as a scannable QR code on the video right now to a survey on SurveyMonkey that you can visit and give me some feedback on what it is that you would like to see on this channel going forward. So if you don't have time for watching the rest of the video, please at least consider checking out that link and giving me some much appreciated feedback. So almost to a day at this point, 3 years ago from when this video goes up, I uploaded my first video to YouTube for this channel, RazingHel. Now, previous to this, just to give you a little bit of background, I had not done anything on YouTube. So this was most certainly a start from zero. I know some people get involved and you see them grow and stuff, and actually you come to realize once given their backstory that they came from a different area in social media or something like that. I really didn't have any previous experience with any sort of social media, so YouTube was where I sort of cut my teeth, you could say. In this video, I'm going to be going over what got me here, what I'm currently doing, and what the future looks like. So to get started with a little bit of history on what prompted me to make a channel. So for one thing, I was a moderator in Stronghold Kingdoms. It is a real-time strategy MMO developed by Firefly. I apparently proved myself to be helpful enough that I got noticed by the staff at Firefly. They decided to promote me to a volunteer mod, and basically what I did was just try to help them out at learning the game, stuff like that. If they needed support for some things, I'd redirect them to the correct channels so they could get that support. It was all quite support related. This was a position for which I was not compensated in any way, but there was some valuable learning experience on how to conduct yourself somewhat professionally. And to my knowledge, to this very day, I'm still considered to be a Stronghold Kingdoms volunteer moderator. Some people have gotten the wrong impression on me being a mod, and for those people, I just want to make it clear, I cannot get your account unbanned, so stop asking. So here you have me. I was a Stronghold Kingdoms mod. I had a good wealth of knowledge on the game, and I noticed there weren't a whole lot of videos on YouTube. There were a couple of other channels, but either they're outdated or they had simply stopped producing content on the game. So I thought, hey, this is a niche that I can take over and hopefully produce some content that actually helps people learn the game, because I had been helping people and answering beginner questions for quite some time then as a moderator. So that's one thing that got me interested in creating videos on YouTube. Another thing that got me interested in it was the fact that I was really hyped about the equipment. If you've built your own PC for gaming or something like that, I took it a little bit further. I wasn't just interested in building powerful PCs. I wanted to put those to use. I couldn't justify to myself having a Core i7 4790K, for example, processor in my computer if I wasn't actually rendering video with that. So this was another interest that incentivized me to create content with the machine that I was building. I was currently building my first computer at the moment. And I know I was a little bit late in my life. A lot of people get started a lot earlier now, but it was when I got started myself, got my computer built, and it is the one that I'm using to this day with just a few upgrades. I was also interested in like professional audio equipment. I would look at things like mics and stuff, and you see big prices and you think, oh, I'd love to have that, but I really can't justify paying $500 to $1,000 on really good audio equipment if I'm not actually producing anything, right? So that was another interest of mine that sort of aligned with the content creation side of what I was doing and just helped get me into the space. Another thing that got me here was a more existential question of being the change that I wanted to see. I guess this is a little bit of a tired cliche at the moment, but I'd seen a lot of other creators giving a voice to the issues that concerned them, and I wanted to try to create a platform to express my own opinions on that. Now, they don't have to be very strong opinions or anything like that, but cultivating a certain culture to me is important, and that's what I've been trying to do. I have a set of standards, I guess you could say, and I'll go into that a little bit later in the status quo section of this video. So the last thing is the fact that it gives me a sense of purpose and fulfillment, maybe is the correct term, I'm not sure. But basically, when you have a turnaround time as small as 1 day for a video, there's a good deal of reward psychologically for being able to put that out every day. Every day I look forward to putting out a video. Obviously, I can't put out certain types of videos require a little bit more work, and I don't have a turnaround time of 1 day, but usually it's 2 days then. And still, even there, you see a lot more progress than a lot of other things in life. A lot of other things in life are really drawn out. And the thing I really have enjoyed about the content that I produce here on YouTube is there's a relatively short amount of time you have to invest in something before you actually start seeing results. And I think that gives me the motivation I need to continue making that kind of content. Okay, so on to the current status quo. We're going to go over what I'm currently working on, the content you've seen on the channel, maybe a little bit of why, I'm not sure. So our ongoing series involves content from Stronghold 2, Stronghold 3, Don't Starve Together, and Don't Starve, the single player, Reign of Giants, whatever, Civilization 4, and my First Impressions series, which has been renamed to A Taste Of. In the past, what I've been trying to do, and this was sort of the objective, was to complete all the different Stronghold titles. Stronghold had a fairly significant impact on my teen years, I guess you could say. So I was mostly playing them for myself, and I just sort of wanted to document playing through all the campaigns of the Stronghold games. So that's Stronghold HD, Stronghold Crusader HD, Stronghold 2, Stronghold Legends, Stronghold 3, and then finally Stronghold Crusader 2. Now, I've completed most of them at this point, as you might be aware. I'm currently finishing Stronghold 2 and Stronghold 3. We don't have very much left to finish there, and then I'll be moving on to Stronghold Crusader. But once I complete those games, then we'll be, of course, looking at other potential games to take on and create content for. In terms of Don't Starve and Don't Starve Together, they're currently probably two of the series people are most interested in on the channel. Not a whole lot to say there, mostly covering mods and trying to make lists of sort of helpful advice that people can apply. One of the real guiding philosophies I have in creating this this is to give people options. So viewers might be wondering why I go and make videos like 5 ways to do something. And generally it's because there are multiple ways of achieving an end result, multiple means of going about doing that. And they all fit different play styles. Maybe some of them have certain commonalities, but by and large, depending upon the type of player you are in these games, you might favor one over the other. So even though one might be a clear winner in terms of the cost of resources, I try to cover ones that are a little bit more obscure. I'm not obsessed with being the absolute most efficient I can be at dealing with a certain boss or something when I create one of these lists. It's about giving people choices. In terms of Civilization 4, I've mostly been covering the Fall from Heaven 2 mod. This is the high fantasy mod. It's a total conversion mod basically, and turns the entire game into one that's based around the fictional world of Erebus. So it's a really big mod. The lead developer for this mod actually went on later to make games at Stardock Entertainment, I think the company's name is. And I just really enjoyed doing it because first of all, there isn't a lot of content out there for Civilization 4, period. Civilization 4, much like Stronghold, is a game that meant a lot to me as a teenager, I guess you could say. And I wanted to cover the Fall from Heaven 2 scenarios. We'll see how far that goes. The problem being for me mostly is that Civilization 4, the types of scenarios that there are in it, and most Civilization games in general take a long time to play. So you're talking about any series that you start taking about 10 hours to finish, well, 5 to 10 hours to finish, which is significantly longer than a lot of other games. So once again, you have a problem here of a turnaround time that is not quite as quick, right? You might not see results from that scenario for 2 months given my output rate. It could be changed, but I'm just saying this is sort of a problem that I have with the Civilization 4 format at the moment, and one of the reasons I think it doesn't quite fit in with the rest of what I do, even though I like the game and I enjoy producing content for it. The last of the ongoing series is called A Taste Of, and it is basically a first impression series where I play a game for a couple of hours or so, depending upon how long it takes me to get an actual feel for it, where I actually feel like I'm somewhat confident at it. And then I try to showcase what exactly it is about the game that I found compelling or not compelling, depending upon which of those it is. Generally, the format lasts from 10 to 20 minutes, I would say. So it's a live reaction style to the game, where I just try to demonstrate some of the most important mechanics or what differentiates it from a lot of other games in its sector, segment, whatever you want to call it. Continuing with where we are, lessons learned for the past 3 years. Number 1, word of mouth promotion is quite powerful. Try to leave a positive impact that will have people mention you in a positive way if possible. I know that's not always going to be the case, but don't undervalue how important it is to engage a community and try to make what your mission is clear to them, so that way they can spread it themselves, right? I hope that makes sense. Another lesson I learned is try not to make it too personal. It's really easy to feel like you are being singled out exclusively because, especially if you come from a more sheltered background, I guess you could say, like I kind of do, but you have to take a broader perspective on a lot of what gets said to you. And in the past, I've not made good decisions based off of this, so we'll see where it goes in the future, but it's really important and yet really hard when you face any sort of attack or person or group that has this attack mentality. Try not to make it too personal because it can only accelerate from there. Once again, we're all only human. We have our imperfections. This is probably a little bit of an idealistic standard to hold yourself to, but try. I think that's the lesson to be learned there. And lastly, make videos on topics you care about. I've been in a couple of groups that focus around helping new people make content on YouTube. And one of the things that disappoints me is when I see somebody who just chases topics or chases numbers. Like some people are absolutely infatuated with statistical information like viewer retention and things like that. Here's the important thing to realize about those numbers. The numbers come after you actually make the content, which means that if you don't make any content at all, you'll never see the numbers. Focus first on creating content you actually care about, content that you can continue to make day in and day out, because that's what it is. It's a grind that you basically have to do day in and day out. And if you don't care about the videos you make, you're not going to get very far. You're just going to see that there is no money here, that it's a huge time sink, and you probably will hate the kind of community that you end up creating based around chasing those topics. Try to make videos that you care about. That doesn't mean you can just totally disregard how YouTube functions to promote the videos you care about, but start at a fundamental basis of understanding what kind of content you want to create and working out from there. Make it something that you do because you love it, not something you do because you see a greater goal at the end of this, and this is simply a means to that end, because that's going to lead to a lot of frustration when you don't see the progress that you think you should. Lastly, in terms of the current status quo, I'm talking about the culture of the community I try to cultivate here, basically the extent of my social media outreach, I guess you could say. So for one thing, I highly value meaningful conversations. What does this necessarily mean? Well, I'd prefer to see and discuss topics of substance, less just viral content, less memes, and I like to see people who have an actual personality, who are not sort of just defined by others. That doesn't mean you have to be obnoxious, but at least try to entertain some individualistic thoughts of your own. I'm not exactly sure if this meaning comes through, but hopefully when seen in the larger context of the culture that I'm interested in creating, you'll understand a little bit better what it means. Respect the time of others. So this means that everybody has a limited amount of time. Please respect the fact that maybe I can't play a game with you, just you immediately. And the same goes for the people that I deal with. I try to get back to them in a reasonable amount of time and not leave them waiting if they send me a private message or such. It also means that I don't tolerate spamming, and I'm pretty against trolling. And I know that last one has gotten me into a bit of hot water with some others who actually think it's a great form of amusement. I happen to disagree, because inherently, when you're trolling others, you are wasting their time to amuse you. And I disagree with wasting the time of others because I disagree with others wasting my time. It's quite reciprocal. Another value that I hold is the willingness to share knowledge. If I know something about a game, I'm not going to keep it hidden from you. If I know something about making videos, I'm not going to keep it hidden from you in some sort of selfish strategy in which I seek to benefit myself only. In the current environment, knowledge is so easily shared that you can make a bigger impact and have more influence by actually learning how to effectively communicate knowledge instead of trying to hoard knowledge. And this also means, specifically because we are invested in games here, that we need to help others learn how to play, share our knowledge with them, and teach them the ropes, basically. Another value is being a good teammate. One of the reasons why I try to stay away a little bit more from the PvP type games is because I think in general, it really breeds a lot of toxicity. Even if I try to keep it to a low, I think it's difficult to just eradicate that from the community in general. So I'd rather play games that are team-based, where the team is working together against the AI and not necessarily against other players. It could change, but I'm just saying this is a value in general, is that try to be a good teammate if you're on a team. Pretty self-explanatory. And lastly, it's to keep it professional. So this is mostly a self-interested value, and that is because while we are not businesses, while we're not corporations, many times we need to interface with them. A lot of game development studios and whatnot are actual corporate entities, or at least small businesses. And if you want to work with them, you sort of have to work on the same terms. And just in general, being professional means trying to cut out the petty and the childish, stuff like that. It doesn't mean that you can't have fun, you can't have a laugh, but it also means recognizing certain boundaries that you do not cross when in professional environments and climates. Mostly it revolves around the 3 topics that you do not discuss in polite company. I would say that's largely what being professional is about. So with all that out of the way, the next big question is, where do I go from here? Where do we go from here? Where does the channel, the brand, whatever, go from here? And to that end, I have created a survey that I would appreciate everybody taking if you're interested in influencing the future of this channel. Now, this is no guarantee that the feedback that I get from the survey will actually determine the games that I play and the type of content I make, but it will influence it, and it will help be a deciding factor in what I ultimately choose to do going forward. So the survey is pretty simple. It's a total of 3 questions, and I have it hosted on SurveyMonkey. The link to it will be in the description, so please go check it out. There's also a QR code by the side of this video that I'm putting up, which you can simply scan with your smartphone's QR code scanner to be taken directly to the survey. Please consider filling it out. It won't take very long, maybe a couple minutes of your time, and if you care about what I'm doing here on the channel, it will help me better understand what I should try to tailor my content towards. First question is in regards to the types of formats you'd like to see more of. I think a lot of the stuff is explained there, and basically it's in regards to stuff like Let's Plays versus tutorials versus first impressions, stuff like that. The second question is in regards to adding new games to the roster, games that I would potentially play in the future. By and large, I focus on strategy and survival genres, so that's why I've mostly included games that might potentially be relevant to people interested in those genres. And then lastly, how do you feel about me uploading videos featuring multiplayer gameplay with other people in them? So this is pretty important if I decide to branch out and actually have guests on and whatnot. To this point, I've pretty much dominated the airspace on my channel, I guess you could say, but there's always the possibility to create series that are a little bit more interactive, I suppose you could say, and a bit more like what you would see when I'm streaming games instead of when I'm just playing games by myself. I usually try to create pretty consistent running commentary on the games that I'm playing by myself, but sometimes having somebody else commenting along with you, sharing their experiences and whatnot, asking questions, asking them questions, it can be a little bit more engaging, I think. So that's why I'm interested in perhaps testing the format. But, you know, if people aren't interested in that kind of thing, I would most certainly like to know before I take the time and effort to test its feasibility. So if you made it through to this point, I know it's a bit long, probably means that you care a little bit more about my channel than most. I hope this answered a lot of questions that you might have had in regards to basically why I do the things that I do, and better help you decide whether or not it aligns with your long-term goals or objectives and is something that you want to continue to invest your time in. Remember, the link to the survey on SurveyMonkey will be included in the description below, along with the link to my Discord, which is where you should go if you have any pertinent questions that need answering, as well as a link to my Twitch, where I stream live every night at this point. So if you're interested in checking out some of my less structured content, be sure to check that out every evening as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.